Hi guys, welcome back to a new video. So since I made the Windows XP installation guide video on the Z390 Dark like almost 1 year ago, many of you asked how to install, many of you asked me to make an installation guide video for Windows 7 for any new platform like Z390, Z370, X299 and so on. So I thought about doing that today. So the thing about, let's say, about installing Windows 7 or any other old operating system in 2020, so at the present moment, is that installing those operating systems is very easy if you use a DVD, so optical drive, because it's a lot more compatible. You don't have so many issues when you use a DVD to install, let's say, Windows 7, because when the original Skylake, so Z170, was launched, the native USB support for non-UEFI operating systems disappeared. So that means any operating system that is older than Windows 8. So if you try to install Windows 7 or any other older operating system, you don't have USB support by default. So that causes a lot of issues. So you just can't install the operating system from a USB stick just like that. So my first kind of tip, if you really want to install Windows 7 or some older operating system on a platform like this, is that you have some kind of optical drive laying around. Trust me, it will make everything so much more simple and a lot more easier. That's why I made the XP installation guide from a DVD, because I have never even tried to install Windows XP from a USB stick, because it's a lot harder. Installing Windows XP from a DVD is just so easy. There aren't that many issues really. But now I will show you how to actually install Windows 7 from a USB stick. I will show you how to prepare the installation media so that you can actually install it with least amount of problems as possible. So, but I want to stress this out first at the very beginning. So many things are really dependent on what kind of installation media you happen to have. So you can have many different types of installation medias, or so-called ISO files based on a same operating system. So some specific ISO file of Windows 7 64-bit Pro could have some weird issues when you actually install it, and then, for example, a completely retail one might be trouble-free. So even if you use this guide, you might still happen to face some weird issues. So I can't know about them. I try to troubleshoot all the issues that I personally faced with my stripped down Windows 7 X64 Pro, which I use for benchmarking purposes. It's heavily stripped down for overclocking purposes, so it's not the ideal daily operating system installation media, but it does the job for this purpose right now. So you will know anyways how to install the operating system even if I use my stripped down Windows 7 for this demo purpose here. But yeah, so before we actually get on the actual installation, I will show you what the whole rig what the whole rig today will be. So the motherboard is yet again the EVGA Z390 Dark, so that is a Z390 chipset, so for the 9th generation 8-core Coffee Lake. The CPU in the socket is a deleted 9900K arrow stepping. The memories are 2 x 8 GB HyperX Predator 4133 Cas19, but of course we don't need any overclocks for this purpose, so they can even be run at auto. The graphics card is a simple Galaxy 710 GT, just to display the monitor signal. Storage is Aperture 240 GB SSD, and then power supply is the Superflower 8-pack 2000 watt, but doesn't matter for this purpose. Then when talking about Windows 7 installation, we don't need IDE support. So Windows 7 does support AHCI straight out of the box. So we don't have to use the Asmedia ports for IDE support. We can use any of the Intel ones. So I have all the SATA storage devices connected to the Intel ones. So that on this particular motherboard here, the top two are the Asmedia SATA 3 ports, and rest 6 down here, they are controlled by the Z390 chipset. Then another very important thing is the rear I/O. So when looking at the rear I/O, this is actually very similar on many other motherboards out there. But you can see that there are many USB ports ranging from all the way here near to the 7.1 audio. Every USB port over here on this motherboard at the rear I/O, apart from these two over here, they are controlled by the Z390 chipset. These two over here, so the USB 3.1 Type C and the one above it is the 3.1 Type A. They are actually controlled by a third-party Asmedia USB controller. And for example, this top USB port over here is the only one you can always get working in Windows XP environment. So that's the USB port what you can use to get all your like screenshots to a USB port and similar. So we have to know about this because all the rest of the USB ports will be non-functioning for the actual installation process when we install Windows 7. You can get some very basic level of functionality for mouse and keyboard when you use the PS2 emulation, but that only means that you have very simple, like basic level of functionality for USB for USB keyboard and mouse. That means you cannot use any like mass storage device, so you cannot load anything from a USB key. So you have to bear that in mind. The easiest way when it comes to any old operating system use is to use PS2 mouse and keyboard, at least for the actual installation process. For this purpose, you should use at least a PS2 keyboard, but I'm using a PS2 splitter cable to distribute the PS2 for both mouse and keyboard. So now I will have proper functionality on both mouse and keyboard for the installation process. It will make everything a lot more easier. Even if you don't want to use PS2 for neither keyboard or mouse for 24/7, you should have some very old and simple PS2 keyboard lying around what you can use in situations like this. So you don't have to use that in your like daily system. You can just have it as a backup laying around if you need to use it in some weird situation like this. PS2 mouse is really bad for daily use, I know that, but now in this demo I will just use it for the actual installation process. So when I talked about like DVD, that's a lot more easier, because if you just use DVD, you don't need anything like special. You should have the like the USB drivers already integrated to the installation media, or have them ready in the like the ISO file. Because when you install the operating system, you don't have to load any driver during the installation process. It will just go through like on any platform. Like installing Windows 7 from a DVD on Z390 is pretty much the same as if you were running a 2600K Sandy Bridge platform. Of course, the only difference during the installation process is the lack of USB support, but other than that, it's very, very straightforward. So there's nothing you have to load during the installation process. But if you use, or if you want to do it from, if you want to install the operating system from a USB key or USB stick, there are a few tricks we have to do. So I will get the system ready now, and I will show you what to do to get the process done. All right, so here I'm on the desktop. Right now I will try without tripod, as the things I want to show, they are quite small. So I want to be sure that you are able to see them, and I will do my best to show you the exact process on how to do this. But so the things we need when we are on the when we are in here on the desktop and we want to prepare our Windows 7 installation media to to be installed on a Z390 or X299 or even 3647, although so far I did not get it working on the SR3 Dark because it doesn't have native PS2 support. The Asmedia 3.1 type A port is quite common at the rear I/O of many motherboards, so it's common on like X299 Dark, Z390 Dark, ASRock X299 OC formula, Z170M OC formula, and many of the Asus, Republic of Gamers, Maximus series motherboards, and many others. So you have to refer to the actual manual of the motherboard you happen to have or which you are planning to buy. So this example video will be just for Z390 Dark, so I cannot cover each of the motherboards out there on the retail market. There might be some differences, but anyways. So here I have the ISO file of my stripped down Windows 7. So I have just extracted it to the Windows 7 folder over here. So right now you can see that it has all the files over here. What we need is the Asmedia. So we have the Asmedia 3.1 driver. This is the same driver for X299 as well as Z390. So it should work for both, at least it works for me. So this is the driver I originally used with X299 Dark and X299 OC formula, but it works perfectly on the Z390 Dark as well. So we need that, and then we need the actual Intel drivers for all of the rear I/O Intel USB 3 ports. Now, because Windows 7 is no longer supported by Microsoft and Intel, it's not so easy to find those drivers for Z390, for example, or Z370. There are official drivers for X299 and Z170, Z270 and so on, but if you want to use Z390, you should get these unofficial drivers from winraid.com. So here we have the unofficial drivers for Windows 7. These work just fine. I will provide all the download links down in the description below so that you can get these yourself if you want to use them. But again, all these things vary a little bit depending on what hardware you happen to have. So remember, these exact steps are for Z390. So just bear that in mind. And then we need NTlite. NTlite is the same thing as NLite for Windows XP or Windows Server 2003. So we can use that to manipulate the installation media of our Windows 7 installation, and then we just need a program to so that we can make a bootable USB stick with all the Windows files. So I will be using Windows setup from USB 1.9. But yeah, anyways, so now the first thing we will do is that we will fire up NTlite. So first we will integrate the drivers to the actual installation media so that we will have USB support straight up when we land at the operating system. Oh, by the way, one thing of note, one thing that happened with this particular installation media that I have here, so my stripped down Windows 7 64-bit Pro, was that when I landed on the desktop for the first time, I had some weird kernel 32.dll issues, and they go away when you install some security updates. So these two are important. So they are these ones over here. So it's the Windows 6.1 303 3929 for 64-bit and 25 33 623 64-bit. So we can also integrate these two to the actual installation media before we even make the ISO file and get it ready for install. So now we will just put add image directory, and we find our Windows 7 installation folder. We go to desktop and we click Windows 7, which is the folder where I extracted the ISO file. Then we will see this operating system initial Vim, Windows 7 Professional. We will right click and load. By the way, the NTlite is not free software, but you can actually use it without any serial key for this particular purpose over here. We don't need the paid version to do this, but just bear in mind, if you want to strip down operating systems a lot, then you have to pay for the actual retail version. But anyways, when we hit 96, we can proceed. I mean, when we hit 100%, we can go on. Okay, so now it's loaded. On the left, we go to updates. First, if we want to integrate the security updates so that we don't get those weird issues at desktop once we have finally installed the operating system. But remember, it all depends on the actual installation media. If you use like completely retail version, you might not have any issues at all. So you might not have to do this process. But because I'm installing this weird stripped down version of Windows 7 64-bit Pro, I will do this right now. So I will click updates, then I will click add package files. Desktop, I will put this, and I will do it again, package files, and I will do that. So now I have them both. I'm actually not sure why it's red. I will try to apply it first, so I will just click process. I will not create ISO file yet, I will just hit process. So now it's integrating the 2533 one first. And then after that it will do the second one. It will finish just right now. So 86%. It integrated both of the packs, and now it will just finalize the installation media for now. So the thing we have to do after this is that we should integrate all of the USB drivers already to the actual installation media. Because if we don't do it, the thing that might happen, for example, if we installed the operating system from a DVD, is that we would just land on the desktop of the installed operating system and we can't do anything. We don't have a USB driver to bring any like drivers from a USB stick, and we cannot use internet because we need a LAN driver in order to access internet, like use any browser or similar. So that means we would be completely screwed. So even if you install the operating system from a DVD, you should at least integrate the USB drivers to the installation media so that you can bring, for example, LAN drivers, so that you can bring, for example, like LAN drivers or similar from a USB stick, and then you can access internet. Or you could even just integrate all the LAN drivers and so on with this NTlite program right over here with the USB drivers. It's all up to you. So once this is complete, we will press close, and we will open it again. I know it's a little bit frustrating and slow. I'm not sure I'm doing this like the very best way, but we have to load the operating system yet again. So once the Windows 7 installation folder has been loaded again, we can continue. So now when we want to integrate the USB drivers both for the Asmedia port as well as for the Intel port, we will go to integrate drivers on the left hand corner of the screen. So we will click drivers, and now we will click the add button over here. We will select driver files. So first let's select the Asmedia one. So Asmedia -USB 3.1 version 1.16 something. and we will click driver, and we will now the hard thing is, but we have to, you can down press Control or Shift, and you can just double click. I mean, you can select both of these, but you should select both of these, so I will just do it now because I have only one hand. So we have both ASMT hub3.inf and xhci.inf. So that's for the Asmedia one, and then we will select add driver files, and we go for the Intel one. So desktop USB. So this is the folder for the unofficial USB 3.1 drivers for Intel for Windows 7, and we have to select everything from here. So first hub, USB 3 hub, add driver files yet again, switch driver, USB 3 HCS, add driver files again, xHCI controller driver. So that's it. So now we have integrated all the USB drivers to the installation media. You could even just add the LAN driver, chipset driver, whatever you wish in the same process with the USB drivers here. So if you integrate the LAN driver, you can access internet immediately after you land on the desktop. So that is a big plus, but I will not do that right now. So once these are added, we can just go to finish, apply again, but we will not create ISO file at this moment. We will just hit process and click yes. And now it will integrate the drivers to the installation media, and we will just let it pass. Alright, so once the USB and other potential drivers have been integrated to the installation media, we still have to do something before we can make the bootable USB. So the thing about installing from a USB stick is that now when we integrated the drivers to the to the installation media, they will be ready for use when we finally arrive on the desktop. But the thing about installing from a USB is that we need to make the USB ports functional during the installation process. So it's not enough to just integrate them to the installation media so that they will be usable at the desktop. We have to load the drivers during the installation process so that we can actually install the operating system. So the thing we have to do, we have to move the Asmedia and probably even the Intel ones to the actual boot section of the installation media. So look at the image history right here. So we can see the actual operating system itself. So operating systems install.vim, and the small triangle over here for boot setup, for boot.wim. So I'm not fully sure which one is the only one you have to do this. So where you have to load or move or copy the driver files, but I did it on both of these. I think the correct one is the Microsoft Windows Setup x86, but I will just do it on both of them. So we will right click this and load. It should be quite fast because it's not that very big. It's not very big target destination. So once it has done that, we will right click it yet. Oh, wait a bit. It's not yet. So once that is okay. So now we can right click it and explore mount directory. You don't have to mind about this. Okay. So this is the view we will see when we actually try to install the operating system. So we have to be able to see the drivers, the USB drivers, so that we can load them during the installation process so that we can proceed. So I will just copy the Asmedia folder over here, paste, and I will do the same thing for the Intel one. When I tested this, I did it from the Asmedia port, so I didn't do it from the Intel port, but I think it might work just fine that way. And now we will just close this and we will apply. I'm not fully sure if this is still needed thing to do, that do you have to run the process, but I will just do it. So just let it pass. So now it has passed, and we can close this. Or actually, I don't think we have to do that way. Yeah, we don't have to do it that way. So now I will load the Microsoft Windows PE. So I will do the same thing on that one. I'm not fully sure if this is absolutely needed step, but I want to do it just in case. But I think the correct one is the Windows setup. But I will do it here just in case it doesn't harm, or it should not harm anything. And we will just copy paste the drivers to this one as well. So 1 minute. Okay, right click, explore, mount directory. Paste, we get the Intel one, and copy and paste the Asmedia one. Then we can close and do the process for applying again. Let it run. And after this, we will create the ISO file, which we will actually put on the USB. So we can just hit source. And now we will load the actual operating system again. So Windows 7 Professional, x64, load. This particular program is very, very useful. It's what I use to make my benchmarking operating systems like 7, Windows 8, Windows Server 2012, and so on. So I just remove parts of the operating system with this particular program and make the operating systems lighter so that they have better efficiency and better performance when I actually run the tests. But this works for integrating parts to the operating system, installation media, and so on. Of course, I will provide the download link for this particular program in the description box. Okay, so once we have the operating system loaded again, as we can see here, we can just select that, just like that, and we can hit apply. And now we will create the ISO file. So we will put it on desktop. I will label it as Windows 7 USB. So you can see over there. So win7usb.iso, save, and label will be win7. Can be anything, doesn't matter what you put here. Okay. And now we will hit process, and it will create the ISO file on the desktop, which we will then put on the USB stick. The USB stick I already have there. It's in one of the Intel ports, so not on the Asmedia port, and it's already formatted to NTFS format. I'm not fully sure which one is the correct one, NTFS or FAT32. I think they are both the same. Sometimes the Windows setup from USB moans something about UEFI support if it's not in FAT32. So I might just put in quick. I might just quick format it to FAT32. Hold on a bit. So now it's finished, so we can close it. So quick format. Done. Close. And we can then open Windows setup from USB, 64-bit, because I'm in a 64-bit OS. It make sure you select the correct device at the top here. Kingston Data Traveler. We will select Vista 7, 8, 10, blah blah blah. Select correct ISO file. Select correct ISO file, and then we can just hit go. And now it will load the OS to the USB stick. And once you get the job done, announcement, we can just pretty much restart the system, and then we can boot the actual USB stick. So for actual booting, I have to keep the USB stick in one of the Intel ports, because if it's in the Asmedia port, it doesn't recognize it during the post process. So I cannot boot this USB stick. So I have to keep it in one of the Intel ones for now, at least for the actual post process. So we go to BIOS, go to boot, and select Windows 7 installation to enabled. The thing about this setting is that it should give you the basic level of functionality to your USB mouse and keyboard, but it doesn't always work on all of the motherboards. At least for me on the Z390 Dark, it doesn't always work 100%. So just bear that in mind. That's why it's so much easier to use PS2 mouse and keyboard, but this is the so-called PS2 emulation on many other motherboard models, like ASRock, Asus Gigabyte and so on. So just have it enabled if you have USB mouse and keyboard. Then select boot mode, select to legacy, and I will select the boot option 1 to the USB key Kingston data traveler, blah blah blah. F10. Then it will ask to press any key to boot the USBs. Wait, so here Windows 7 SP1 X80 X64, not X86. X86 means 32-bit. So yeah, I will try to load the Intel ones as I didn't try that before. Right, so few issues. So yeah, you need to have the USB stick in NTFS. At least for me, I don't know why. Well, I'm not sure, but the Rufus USB utility is actually much easier and better to use than Win setup from USB. So I recommend you try that first before trying Win setup from USB. So yeah, we have boot mode select as legacy, and now we can just use boot override Kingston data traveler 3. Press any key, Windows setup. So now it should work. So now it doesn't go that weird Grubados boot thingy. So I'm sure this should work. I will try to load the Intel driver first instead of the Asmedia one. So yeah, we can. Now this is the only language I can select is English, but as I'm Finnish, I will select Finnish. So I will have time and currency format and my own keyboard layout. Next, install now. And now it should ask for the driver, because as I said, it's in the Intel port. So yeah, it asks it. I will try browse. Boot is the USB stick. And I will try the Intel one, AHC controller driver. No, it doesn't. I will untick this one. I will try the hub driver. No. Switch. No. So I think, yeah, I need to use the Asmedia one. It seems to be so. Yeah. So yeah, it looks to be so. So yeah, I need to use Asmedia. So just go to the Asmedia one, select driver, none of the subfolders, so just the driver folder. Press OK. Actually, I want to tick this. And just click this and click next. So it will load it. It might not go on just by this, but I will show you. So this is the Asmedia USB 3.1 extensible host controller. So XHCI. So yeah, it didn't go yet. So now what we will do is we will just press OK, and we will change the USB stick to the Asmedia one, which is the one that is on top of the USB. So it's on top of the USB 3.1 Type C. So that's the Type A port. And now we will do again rescan. We will not change the location. And now we can select Asmedia USB root hub. So we will select that. You can see the correct version. And next. And now it should go. If you only have, let's say, PS2, if you have only PS2 keyboard and your mouse doesn't work, your USB mouse, you have to navigate by using a keyboard. So you have to use tabulator and space and enter. So it's a bit hard, but that's the only way to navigate if you don't have a working mouse. So yeah, now it went through. I will tick the accept license terms and next, custom, And then we will just delete all of these so that we get one partition. So disk 0 unallocated space. Now, one thing that might happen when you install any operating system from a USB, because it's a bit like it's not so foolproof as installing a USB. I mean, it's not so foolproof compared to installing operating system from a DVD, is that when it like goes through this phase and it reboots and comes back, it might get some error that some of the components could not install, and it asks for reinstallation, blah blah blah. So you can actually force it to go past that point by changing the child completion thingy on Registry. I mean on Registry edit to other value. So there's some kind of child lock in the Windows 7 installation process that if it detects that something is not right, it will just prevent the installation process from finalizing. So you can actually bypass that thingy by doing a change in the registry. I will show that if it happens now. So how to get beyond that. So we will just let the installation process to expand the files, and then it will just reboot at least one time after it goes through this. So now it rebooted once, it says completing installation, and now it should pop the like red error screen should pop if it happens that something some of the Windows components could not install and it wants you to reinstall, blah blah blah. Let's see if it happens. Okay, so this is the error screen which I mentioned. So Windows could not configure one or more system components to install Windows, restart the computer and restart the installation. So now I'm not 100% sure that can I still get beyond it. So if you are sure this will happen, you should do the process immediately once it reboots. But so what we have to do is we have to press Shift and F10. Wait, I will do it with the camera shut down. So when you press Shift and F10 on your keyboard, you will get command line.exe. So here we will type regedit. So it means registry edit thingy. Oh, oops. Yeah, and here we go to H key dash local machine, system, setup, status, and child completion. And here we can find setup.exe. It's the value at stock is 1, and I think the correct one, yeah, should be 0. Some of the guides which you can find on Google say you should put a value of 3 here, but I will just put 0. Okay, and then I can close these. Now it wants to. Let's see if it's still possible to go beyond that point, because if you know that it will happen, you should do that process immediately once it reboots during the installation process, and then that whole pop-up thingy will not happen. Let's see what happens now. But yeah, so once it reboots once and you get this screen, you should do the value change immediately and not wait for the actual pop-up. Only if you are sure it will happen. So you should always test first that does it install like normally, because it depends on your installation media or the so-called ISO file and the way you do the preparation. So it might be different if you use Rufus, it might be different if you use Win setup from USB and so on. But as this is not like a fully retail version of the Windows 7, so it might have some weird things. But yeah, now it went through. Let's see, now it should go to the final part of the installation process. So let's see. But again, the whole process is just so much easier if you install from a DVD. I can tell you. Yeah, now it's going through. Setup is preparing your computer for first use. So you have to set the... so I can put I will just put my name here. Next, I will not put passport. Product key, I don't have it right now, so I will just press skip. Ask me later, or just use install important updates only. Either of these two, whatever you want to use. And select your time zone and so on. Next. And now it should land on the desktop, or it might do one more reboot. And here I am on the desktop, so we have successfully installed Windows 7 64-bit Pro from a USB stick. And now let's check the USB functionality, as I haven't done anything. So I will put the USB key to the Asmedia one first. I unplugged it when I booted it to the OS. So let's see, it should pop here right now. So yeah, it popped. So the Asmedia port is functioning as it should. And now let's try any of the Intel ones. So an Intel one. And it works. So yeah, we don't even have to install. So the integration of the Intel drivers worked perfectly when we used NTlite. So now we can just open it and we can access any of the files over here. So that's the process you should do, even if you install from a DVD, because if you don't have the USB drivers already integrated to the installation media and you installed the OS from a DVD, now you are pretty much like screwed on the desktop. You can't access any files from any USB ports as there is no driver. So the only way you could fix the situation, if you use the DVD, you should use another computer like a laptop, move all the necessary drivers to an empty CD or DVD, and then just move the files over with that DVD to the installed OS. So that's one way, because you cannot access internet using any browser if you don't have the LAN driver installed in most of the cases. So you could integrate the LAN driver and maybe even some other drivers with the USB drivers with the NTlite. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. So now here I would just get all the drivers in, chipset, management engine, LAN, so on, storage drivers, install browsers, and so on, and all the programs and applications I wanted to use in the OS. So that's pretty much how you install. So that's pretty much how you install Windows 7. So you can see the rig one more time over there. Just installed CPU-Z and changed the background so you can see. So I'm not lying. So 1900K, arrow stepping, engineering sample, 4133, 17, 18, 18, command rate 2, and Z390 dark, BIOS from April 2019. So yeah, so that's how you install Windows 7 from a USB stick on any modern platform like Z370, Z390, X299, even C621 if the board has PS2 or completely functioning PS2 emulation. So there's no PS2 emulation right now on the SR3 Dark. I will ask about it, and when it's implemented correctly, you can install Windows 7 just fine, even with the 28-core Xeon. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. But again, if you want to install Windows 7, my perfectly honest recommendation is that you have some spare optical drive laying around and just use a DVD. You might get some weird issues even when using same installation media when you install it from a USB compared to installing it from a DVD. So I have some slight issues, like weird error pop-ups when I don't have that error pop-up when I install exactly the same ISO file from a DVD compared to what happens when I install it from a USB stick and when I have to do the child completion thing. That doesn't happen when I use a DVD. So that's why I install every possible operating system when I install any OS, like for overclocking or benchmarking purposes. I install all of them from a DVD, apart from Windows 10. So XP, Server 2003, Windows 7, Windows 8, 8.1, Server 2012, all of them I mainly install from a DVD. Windows 10 I install from a USB stick because you can get faster boot when you use UEFI, and Windows 10 is very easy from a USB stick. But at least if we talk about Windows 7 or older, DVD is a lot easier. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them down below. I will have all of the important download links in the description box down below, so just refer to them if you want to do this process. And yeah, I guess this is pretty much it. Please check my Windows 10 and Windows XP installation guide videos if you like this one. I also have good overclocking material on my channel if you have any interest on that. But yeah, so if you like this video, if you like to see a proper guide for USB installation, or I mean for operating system installation from a USB stick on a modern platform like this, please give a thumbs up and share this video and subscribe to my channel. I will see you on the next one.